knew without a shadow of a doubt that education can transform.
Sometimes the kids from the schools go back and teach their parents how to read and write.
How to wash hands.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful place, and the teachers love it too. When we started a school, we had no idea that we were going to scale like. I have never in my life ever filled a form online.
Hello there, I am here with James Suresh Ambat, the founder of Building Blocks, which is an organization that helps educate children from the slums and underprivileged backgrounds, and they have 12 schools across India now, and just an incredible story of passion and growth. And, you know, I won't say much more about that because, of course, we're here to hear from James himself. So, James, great to see you and great to have this conversation.
Nice to have you with us, Sean.
Absolutely. So let's start off with where it all began. Even before Building Blocks, who was James and what were the young man's aspirations and dreams and goals?
Yeah. Well, I come from a very tiny village down south in Kerala. And, you know, I was just like any other simple village boy, an ordinary village boy that went to a local government school and studied in the local language. And, you know, the simplest of life, you know, climbing trees and, you know, boating in the river, swimming in the little ponds, and, you know, going to school without shoes because I think nobody had shoes in my village. There was not even a shoe shop in the village. Everybody walked barefoot. So that's where I come from. And then I, you know, grew up and went to college and left the village and went to Pune. So that's where I completed my English literature graduation there. And then I got into a hotel industry, started working in a hotel. And, you know, being in the hotel industry, I think I got into all kinds of trouble, you can say, as a young person in my 20s. And then I got married and, you know, then I had an accident. And that accident completely transformed my life. Because I could have died in the accident, so I was wondering, could there be a purpose why I didn't die? Is there more to life than, you know, just going to work, making money? Is there more to life than that? That was a question that was really ringing in my mind. For almost about 6 months, till I kind of met some people who were, you know, into a volunteer organization, how they had given their lives for that. I was like, wow, this is what I should do. I mean, what is the purpose of life, you know? Is it all about making money or it's more to life than that? So that really took me to a search of seeing what can I contribute to this world? What can I contribute to my people in my country? And, you know, to my neighborhood. That was a trigger.
Amazing. Yeah, so that's an incredible experience and definitely quite a trigger. So how did Building Blocks actually come together then? And give us a sense of the timeline. When was this?
Well, in year 2000, I was living in Goa at that time. And for 5 years before that, I've been kind of dreaming of doing a school because I went to one of the schools, local schools, and when I looked at the conditions there, I thought, whoa, this is not the ideal place for little children to be
Educated.
Yeah, I'd seen better conditions, you know, in the communities where I lived. There were schools for children that were really very well run. So I thought, I need to bring that to my country and my people, the poor that cannot afford it. So I've been dreaming about it. I've knocked many doors to see if I can open something, and it really hadn't worked out. And I was actually in Goa sitting on the beach with a friend of mine called Stephen. He was a British guy. He had just come from Japan. And we were looking at some of the kids that were kind of, you know, going from bed to bed on the, you know, people that are lying in the beach bed.
And the migrant workers.
Yeah, migrant workers, children. They were, you know, kind of begging, little 3 and 4-year-olds. So Stephen just asked me a question. James, don't you think those kids should be in school? I said, of course, definitely. So then he said, James, it's my dream to start something to help children. I said, well, it's been my dream too. So we just got, really, we came together on a collaborative venture. So we started the first school in Goa. I went to the slums myself, picked up the kids in my own car. So that was the beginning of it. With 3-4 children, and then it just grew to maybe 20 and 30 children. We had 1 classroom, 2 classrooms. So Stephen went back to Japan and he started to support the school because I didn't have a clue of where to raise money for running a school. So that was the beginning.
Amazing. Yeah. And I know this is a little bit of a segue, but why education? Why was that the field that felt most important to you to focus on?
Yeah, that's a good question because I come from a small village and the impact it had on the village, education, just one thing, education had an impact on the village, had completely, transformed my own life. Because I saw, I was away from my village for about 20 years. When I went back to my village, I saw the entire village had transformed. There was little huts everywhere, little houses, all that changed. Because Kerala being an education hub for the country, so many young people that studied with me, they all left the village. They all went to Dubai or some Middle East, US or wherever they went. And all that, funds that they had made there, they all came back to the village, built very nice houses. The whole place had completely changed. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt that education can transform, big time.
And there's nothing like seeing what you believe happen in real time, right? In front of your eyes and have that proof.
Yeah, nobody had to convince me that education has its benefits. It's my life story, actually. And I thought if I could give any gift to the next generation, more than food or clothes or whatever else, I knew education can completely transform their lives and it can actually give them wings to fly. I just let them on the launch pad and they'll just go up.
Incredible. And I think it's also a catalyst for others, right? If you like they say, teach a man to fish, right? And when you educate one person, that spreads to other people. And I love, the times we've talked about how sometimes the kids from the schools go back and teach their parents how to read and write.
How to wash hands.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. So let's talk about the first school in Bangalore. And I love the naming scheme that you have. So I think it's Azalea, which is the first school. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, see, when we started the school, we had no idea that we were going to scale like this. I thought I was just starting one school for a few children. That's what I thought. But then one person that had a tremendous impact on my the school life or history is Max Srinivasan. He was then CEO of Seaton India. And we had met him and he came and visited my school. And he started to ask me questions like, James, you need to scale this. I'm like, what do you mean by scaling? I had no idea what scaling meant because he just come from the US. He's been in the US for, I think, 15 or 16 years and he came back to India. So I said, oh, yeah, okay. So that means we'll have to have several branches and we'll have to name them differently. So his wife, Meena Srinivasan, she said, James, why don't we name them after flowers? Because children are like the flowers in the garden, beautiful.
Incredible.
So that's where we started. We have now Azalea, Bluebells, Carnation, Daisy, Edelweiss, Freesia, Gardenia. So it just goes on like that to Hibiscus. And I think we are at Morning Glory now, M. So, yeah, that was the story behind that. Named, why it was named differently.
Incredible. And I'm sure, along with the mission and sort of the fire within, I'm sure you met some challenges along the way and some moments that you were like, is this really going to happen? Is this doable? What were some of those challenges in the early days that you had to overcome?
I think one of the challenges we faced right at the start was we going into the slums and talking to the mothers and saying that we'll give free education. Like, why would you give free education? That's never heard of, you trust. And why would somebody give free education?
Right.
So they were suspicious of, okay, is there an ulterior motive? Is it something to do with religion? Some people even suspected that maybe they're kind of taking the children away. They might lose their children. There were all these doubts and fears. It took us many years, actually, to get over that, the phobia that the society and the community had. But slowly, I think, when people saw the children were taken very good care of, they were fed every day, the fear slowly disappeared, and they themselves actually had spread the message in the community, saying that, oh, this is a safe place for my child.
Amazing.
They're not only feeding them and educating them, and they're taking very good care of them and teaching them very good morals and values and stuff like that.
And it's incredible to see the looks on the faces of the children. I remember, when I was in school, there was not a joyful moment, having to go to school every day. But the kids, you see them walk into the building block schools, they are beaming from ear to ear, and they go home laughing and jumping. And I mean, that speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, it's a joyful place. And I think also the age 3, it's like a beautiful age. They're just like, like a blank slate, ready for excitement, ready for, curiosity-filled kids, looking for fun and joy and being with their friends and colors and song and music. It's like a beautiful place. And the teachers love it too. They tell us that when we come from home, we come with all these burdens and worries and problems. But the minute they enter the school, they drop everything because it's just actually entering a different dimension with beautiful kids. Yeah.
Incredible. So in the early days, the focus was entirely on kindergarten, I understand, right? So tell us a little bit about, kind of how that journey towards what happens after, how that went.
See, initially when I started this in 2004 in Bangalore, I thought I was just going to do the kindergarten. So I thought I was going to assist the parents to have a foundation given to them so then they could actually get the kids into grade 1. So my only intention was, okay, most schools have an interview when they come for admission in grade 1. So I thought I was assisting them to be able to pass the interviews so, they know all the basics and they could just do that. So that was my intention. But then, a few years later, when I was in the slums with some friends of mine from Japan, I was just walking around in the slums showing them where the kids come from to our school. So one of my old students just walked up to me and I said, "Oh, Sanjay, where are you studying now?" So I thought he would say, "You're studying in such school." But he said, "So I'm not going to school." "Oh, really?" So this friend of mine from Japan, he heard that he said that he's not going to school. So that kind of, then we had discussions about what happens, James, to all these children that you're, teaching. If they don't go to school, then what? All this investment, isn't it wasted? Oh, yeah, that's true. It was like a new revelation to me.
Eureka moment.
Yeah. So then Megumi Shimonaka was also there. She's one of our friends from Japan. So Megumi and Kenneth and I, we just kind of discussed about it and see, is there something they could do from Japan to help me to, educate the children after the 3 years of kindergarten.
Right.
So he went back to Japan. He said he will set up a website and have the names of the children put there and raise money for that. So unfortunately, he got busy and it didn't happen. But then, again, Megumi visited Bangalore. And she was quite taken by this whole project. So she said, "James, if you can be very systematic about reporting and stuff like that. Because if I have to ask Japanese for money, I need to be able to be 100% sure that your processes, your systems will be very, very clear and perfect. I said, yes, I can guarantee you that. So she started to, sponsor kids, 5 kids, 10 kids, like that it started. I think she's been connected with us for the last 10 years almost. And now her number is more than 200 children.
Amazing.
Yeah, so she alone single-handedly raises so much money, and she's also feels such a joy out of this whole thing.
Yeah.
When she comes to India at least 3 or 4 times every year.
Right.
And every time she would bring in friends with her, and they will go around to the schools. We have graduation days, so she would come for the graduation. Then we have a Children's Day, annual day celebration. She will come for that. So she will bring hordes of people from Japan.
Amazing. And it must be incredible for them to see the progress of the kids and see them growing up every 6 months or a year, and you see, what they've achieved academically.
Yeah. A lot of times she would bring people that have already sponsored the children. Then about 90% of the time she would bring fresh new people that have never been to India. And it's an incredible moment for those people to actually walk into the slums, especially to see the conditions under which kids live. That really almost shocks them.
Yeah.
And they would immediately want to sponsor a child because they know it's going to impact them. They know it. So, yeah. So that's how Megumi has been able to, inspire a lot of people to sponsor children.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So was there a moment, or when was the moment where you felt like this is really starting to take off and it has, tremendous potential? I know it took a little while to get from 1 school to 2 schools and then beyond that. So when was that moment of just, like you said earlier, scaling? When did it just sort of rocket ship?
Yeah, see, Mac has been helping me to connect with a lot of people. But the turning moment happened when one of my team was in a hotel singing. They are musicians, so they were at a brunch, actually, Sunday brunch. And after the singing, there was a bit of a gap, so they were talking to some guests that were there, and then there was somebody there from Boeing. So his family was there. They were having, some good time together. And they talked about this charitable project we are involved in. So they said, oh, yeah? Oh, why don't you write to us? We may have some funds to give you. So, and he gave the email ID and said, write to me. And that was it. So they came and gave me the email ID. And I wrote to him and he immediately responded. And they said, okay, you have to go online and you have to fill this form. And I have never in my life ever filled a form online.
CSR application.
CSR application form. That was about 25 pages, I think.
Wow.
And it was tough to fill that because I'd never done it before. So every moment I got stuck with the form because it wouldn't go forward unless you fill certain things. So whenever I got stuck, I had to call somebody in the Boeing office in Delhi and ask, okay, sir, I'm stuck here. What do I do? So he kept advising me on what to do. Then it came to the page where we have to fill how much money do you need. So in my life with this building blocks for about 4 or 5 years, I had never asked for more than 5,000 to 10,000 rupees. That was the maximum. I had the faith to ask. I never thought it was possible for someone to give you, a big amount of money. So when I came to this page, I was thinking, what should I ask? What should I ask? I had kind of figured out some things that I could ask.
And what were you thinking of as going to be the purpose of that funding? Was that for a new school, to set up a school?
Supporting the present schools. I already had 2 schools by then. So it was difficult for me to support these schools because there was some support system, a little bit people were supporting me that kind of had broken down. So,
and continuity, of course, is very important, right?
Yeah.
Starting is one thing, but the longevity is
exactly
important.
So when I came to this page, I kind of dared, you can say, to ask for $20,000. It was like a huge leap for me to ask for $20,000. So this guy told me, James, we are actually closing our year's budget, and this is the last day. If I don't finish up all the money, I will have to actually send it back. So why don't you write $40,000? I'm like, I just fell off my chair. For $40,000, never seen an amount like that. So that was the beginning of, really asking for funding and, taking this whole thing to another level, actually. From there, it kind of took off.
Amazing. And what did that mean in terms of, what did that translate into for the school? Is that running costs for years? Or?
See, we needed basics. We were missing some basics in the school. Like, we didn't have computers in the classrooms. We didn't have proper desks and we also have so much power cut in India. So we need to have, uninterrupted power supply backup. We need to have, we did have play equipments. We needed to get that. And, utensils we didn't have properly. All this kind of stuff that is basics of the school that was needed was missing. So this funding actually really helped us to not only pay for the teachers and pay the rent for the school and all that, it also helped us to really upgrade the school to a very good standard. Because most schools that are run by charities sometimes, may not have the funding to do that. And we were at that stage where, we didn't know what to do, how to go ahead. This funding really supported us. And Boeing has been really fantastic. They just gave the money and they didn't ask us what to do with it. So we had the freedom. They gave us the freedom to be able to really do what we want to do with it.
Right.
Some of the other donors later that came in, they would ask for everything. Okay, where did you spend that? This is what you wrote in your budget proposal. So give us the breakdown of that. So it was very, very minutely scrutinized and audited. Which is good in a way, but Boeing never asked for that question.
I think there's different purposes, right?
Yeah.
In the one case, when things are established and running, that's helpful. But when you're, I guess, trying to define what's possible and the standard you want to set, then that freedom is helpful. And I think one of the things a lot of people remark on when they visit the schools is that I think they have an expectation of the standard, the quality, the cleanliness of a charity school, and they lower their expectations and they walk in and they're like, this looks better than professional schools.
Yeah, many of the visitors say, I wish my child would actually come here to study. Yeah, do you take children from our children? I said, no, this is meant for, marginalized, kids from marginalized communities. So, yeah. So that always happens when people do visit. They say, could I send my kid to the school?
Incredible.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit to 2010.
Yeah.
I understand that's kind of where things started to accelerate for you. So tell us a little bit about that year and the main events.
Well, 2010, we had a friend that was running a company here, and the CEO was a very close friend also. He was from Australia. He said he would like to, donate to start a company, start a school. So we had actually already found a place, and we didn't know how to find. We had just looked at a place, and we thought this slum would be a good place to have a school. We had seen the building. We had already kind of, scanned through surveyed the slums and selected the children. It was almost like, it was already predestined almost that this guy would, come in to support the school. So that was school one. That was in our third school, Daisy. In the meantime, we already had 3 schools. So Daisy started in 2010, and right at that time, I met a guy from Netherlands. He was just traveling through, and his friend from Denmark, he was also here. He was working in some company here. So this guy, his name is Troy Swanson. Troy Swanson, he came up to me and he said, James, I heard that you run the school. He came to my school, actually, met me at the school, and we took him around the school. He told me, oh, where do the kids live? So I took him to the slums where the kids come from. And he was so taken by it. And he said, James, I run a charity in the Netherlands called Alphabet Club. And he said he would like to start a school with me. Yeah. So in the same year, I started a second school with him.
Wow.
Yeah. And he actually took also a school to another level. Because at that time, we were not, giving kids breakfast and lunch. But he said, okay, why don't we do breakfast and lunch also? So then we spread it out to all the other schools, giving breakfast and lunch. So we saw a big difference when we started to give breakfast and lunch, because a lot of kids were coming to the school without having any food.
Undernourished.
Yeah, malnourished children. And giving the food really made another new, we can say, a jump into the, school's attendance, and also parents, trust and belief in the school, and all that really went up. And so that was the second school. And we started one more school. What happened was he was talking to some guys in Netherlands, and one of the Indians, he was the president of the Rotary Club, Rotary Club International, Amsterdam, I think that is. So the Indian guy, he pushed to send their funds to India, because there were a lot of people bargaining for it. Some people from Sri Lanka, and some people from Pakistan were all, rooting for the funds. But he pushed to get that funding to India, so we were able to start one more school. So that year was a very, very important year because of this, 3 schools starting. And I remember the school that with this Australian guy, he asked me, James, okay, we can release the funds to you. How long will it take for the school to start? So I said, 1 month. I said, what? In 1 month they can do that? So we had an extremely good team. We all came together and just, pushed for it and got everything done. It just took a month. I was myself surprised too that I could do this in 1 month's time. So if you had the money, you could do it. It is the funding that is always the problem. But once the funds are there, then it's a matter of just wing it.
Incredible. And I think it's, I think that, look, the funding is obviously important. That's where it starts. But I think it goes deeper into the attitude and the passion and, the way your team operates. There's many industrial projects that even if they had the funding wouldn't get off the ground in a month, I think it's the attitude of believing what's possible, and the passion behind it, of wanting to put those funds to good use as quickly as possible, wanting to make an impact.
See, one thing I should say that I'm really fortunate is that I have an extremely good team. Very loyal, very dedicated, very passionate, because I think not because I'm paying them a lot of money, because I cannot afford to pay them a lot of money, but they see the impact this project is having on the community and the children. And that gives them such joy, and they also know that they're helping their own community, their own country, their own people. So they can see the change the children go through also. From coming to the school, not knowing one alphabet, couldn't speak one word of English, in 3 years' time, they are singing, they can write, they can do maths. It's an amazing transformation. Yeah. I think that gives them the inspiration also to be, part of this whole thing. And, nobody complains about working overtime. I'm not asking them to do work overtime, but they would do it. Yeah. They're supposed to be at school by about 9 o'clock in the morning, and the school shuts down by about 3 o'clock. But they're there till 6 o'clock every day. They're preparing for the next day. They're doing stuff, doing all the activities, getting it all ready for the children next day. It's amazing.
Wow. So I want to talk a little bit about Morning Glory, which I think is kind of a special project,
Yeah.
a very unique special project on its own.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that, when it was, how that came together.
See, Morning Glory, the owners of Morning Glory, the people that supports the Morning Glory, they run a luxury resort called Evolve Back. And he had heard about these building blocks. By then we had actually, I think, 4 or 5 branches already in Bangalore. So he has a resort in Coorg. So he was always wanting to do something for the people that work in that community. There are a lot of workers that work in the plantations. They have coffee plantations there. The whole area is full of coffee plantations. So there are a lot of workers there, and they normally have 6 months of work, and 6 months it rains so badly, you cannot actually do any work in the fields. So a lot of these people are almost unemployed during that time. So they have to live by what money they make in first 6 months. So he had a deep desire to want to help these people. So he also believed that education could transform lives. So he came to me, he saw my schools, and he went back to his family and convinced them about this whole project. All the brothers came to my school, they saw the school, they all liked it. Then I said, if you are actually going to build a school, they wanted to actually build a school from scratch in their own property and give it to me. So I said, if you're going to build a school, I have some dreams. I said, I want this school to be a certain way. Because, I'm running schools in rented buildings, so I had to just take what I get.
Right.
But in your case, we can have the liberty to, have a school really tailor-made for the children's needs. So I said, okay, normally we always tell young children, 3, 4-year-olds, don't write on the wall, don't write on the wall. This is a, regular moms telling children not to write on the wall. And children obviously will write on the wall. So I wanted a school where children can actually write on the wall.
Wow.
The entire school we turned into a blackboard, and we put chalks everywhere. So that is something I wanted. So they did that for me. Then I said, I would like to have each classroom opening out, huge window opening out into a garden. So they did that for me. So then everything I asked for, all the wash basins had to be low, where the kids can wash at their level, their hands. The toilets are low. Everything is, really tailor-made to the kids. And they met at such a beautiful place in a nicely wooded area. It's like a paradise for kids. I do not have another school as beautiful as that. Yeah, it's such a privilege for the kids to come to that school. And it's also by the side of a river, which has sometimes its disadvantage because sometimes the water levels go up,
Right.
and then the water comes into the school also sometimes. So we have to shut schools every year. We have to shut the school for at least a few days.
Beautiful. And that's, it's such a testament to the quality of of what you do, and also I think the fact that I don't think there's been a single person in all these years that has come and not felt in some way that they needed to contribute and they needed to be involved. And
Yeah.
I think that's just a testament to what you do, and the passion of the teachers and the impact really that you're creating.
See, the thing is, most people when they come, before they come, we say, okay, it's a school for slum children. So they have certain expectations of what the school would look like. They'll think, would it be dirty? Things like that they may be already kind of assuming. But every time a new visitor walks into the school, they are amazed at the way the school's cleanliness, the way the school's set up. And I believe for the companies that also support our schools, it is also a very proud project for them to bring their visitors. When they have their visitors come from abroad, they want to bring the presidents of the company or vice president. They want to visit them. They want to bring them to the school because it's a very proud project that they can be also, they can be proud of that project that they want to showcase. Okay, this is a project we are supporting. So because of the CSR funding, it's, I think, now possible for people to donate big amounts. And we want to create a beautiful place for the kids. That's the core of our belief also, that they should remember forever that this school is where I studied. So in all our schools, we have our past students' photographs. And then they're older now, they're in 5th grade, 10th grade and all that, college-going students. They come to the school and they look at their own pictures of them being a little, 3 and 4-year-old. Yeah, it's beautiful, actually.
Amazing. I mean, it's wonderful that is, a sense of pride, sense of belonging for them, and they could look back on it fondly.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and we are also like a family. Like all the kids are like my family. If I walk into any place where my kids are, they will just come rushing to me and they will all hug me, and I'm like the grandfather of the oh Lord. Yeah. So yeah. We are a family. All my staff. Also, they're also, very much loved by the kids. And the kids also really, the staff also really love the kids. They're like their mothers, for 7-8 hours every day.
Amazing. So let's fast forward a little bit to 2020, the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can't skip talking about that. What was that like for the organization, and what did Building Blocks go through at that time?
So the pandemic really hit us very badly. One of the concerns we had was that the kids were getting their breakfast and lunch, which probably was the only 2 meals they had. So first of all, my concern was food. How do we get food to these kids? And everything was shut down. Everything was closed. There was, lockdown. All the roads were blocked. So we couldn't really, go out to do some of the things. I thought we could cook the food and give it to the homes. Or how should we do it? All this discussions went on for some time. Then we thought, okay, let's say in a household, it's not just our kids. They will have siblings. So we can't just bring food to one child. We need to bring it to the whole family almost. How would we do that? So then we came up with this idea that we can actually make some food bags where we can give them rice and, oil and dal and whatever else they normally would eat at home, the basics. So I just sent out a little, idea on my Facebook saying that, I'm planning to give out food bags, and each bag would cost I think it was $30. I can't remember. $30, I think. So then people started to respond. I mean, it was like like an avalanche. People from across the globe responded to that. And, the first amount of money came in, we bought a few things from we had long queues in the shop.
Yeah.
There were not many shops were open. So we had to buy stuff from a wholesale shop, and we had to stand in queue for hours sometimes, my staff. And we would fill up the school bus, the entire bus would be full of bags and stuff. We would bring it to our school, and then we would just bake it into small packages. It was a very, very special time for even my staff to see how the efforts are going into feeding the families. It was an incredible moment for them too, and for me also, and for the donors, that we did so many videos of our distribution, pumping every day pretty much on the Facebook. We had pictures, videos of our distribution and stuff like that. And people were so thankful. Even today they talk about it and say, sir, you helped us during the most difficult time. And these are poor people who have no savings. They can't just depend on their savings at a time like this.
And their work is day to day. They get
Day
paid
to day.
literally day wages.
Even every day they don't have work. So in a week they may work for 2 or 3 days. Other days they won't have work. So they are living, hand to mouth, day to day. So they were extremely thankful that we were able to give food. Then I know one of our friends, Rajiv Talreja. He actually he's a motivational speaker and stuff like that, corporate trainer. So he had, I don't know, hundreds of people following him. So he just sent out an appeal. He is actually sponsoring 2 kids in our school. So he knew all about our work. He has been to my school and all that. So he's so, convinced about the project and work I do. So he was able to inspire all his people to, to give towards the food distribution thing. We had so much money. The shopping, we couldn't actually even have place to keep it. From floor to the ceiling, we had stuff, stocked out. And everyday distribution. Then the whole, exodus started, people leaving Bangalore. Thousands of people leaving Bangalore. So they had to stand sometimes in queue to get their approval to go into the train. So they would actually have packed everything and standing in queue for hours, sometimes even days. So we had hundreds of ladies in different, gated communities. They would make food. They would roll their chapatis, they'll make food, and they'll pack everything. And our, guys would go pick it up from them. Then we would go out into the railway stations and wherever the centers were. We were distributing hundreds of bottles of water, truckloads of water, basically. And we distributed all this stuff. And it was an amazing moment, actually, for us. And yeah, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Then it came to the matter of, how many days are these kids going to sit in at home?
Yeah, how they can get their education.
What happens to their education? That was another challenge we had to face. So there is one lady from Wichita in the U.S. Her name is Nalini Gangadhar. She's from Bangalore originally. She's been there for 20, 25 years, I think. And she had sponsored 2 kids in my school. So she said, she's a maths teacher. So she said, I can teach my children online. I said, how do you teach online? I had no concept of teaching online kind of thing. Then we said, okay, that means you come on Google Meet, come on Zoom. These are all new things just popping out of nowhere, which I have not even heard of, that these things are possible. So she came online and she started to teach these 2 kids. Then she said, some of my friends might want to teach. Would you have more students that we could teach? I said, sure. There are hundreds of children that need tutors. But the only challenge was then phones. The parents don't have any phones. Parents have tiny little phones, the Nokia phones, no smartphones. So how do we get the phones? So we contacted Megumi Shimonaka from Japan. I said, this is a challenge we are facing. We need phones. Could you help? So they helped with about 50 or 60 phones, I think. Then Nalini Gangadhar again, she inspired some friends of hers, Trees for Life, that's called. So Trees for Life gave us quite a lot of phones. So like that, from here and there, and friends coming together. Before, when we started this, there was one phone. They would all sit in their little house, 5 or 6 children huddled around one phone. That's how it all started. Then now we were able to give all the children. Then from little phones, we thought it would be better to have a bigger screen. So we got them tablets. So yeah, so hundreds of teachers from the US, from different parts, from Japan, from Denmark, UK, Netherlands, all came online. And kids were kept engaged. All through that time when everything was closed down, kids went on with their school. Yeah. It was like a new shift for us, to take everything online. Never done it before. So we just learned as we went. Yeah. Now we are facing the other way around. Now, how to get children inspired to want to come to these classes. I think they're also kind of fatigued a little bit about, the online classes. So it's a challenge.
Yeah. And do the online classes still carry on?
Yeah, still carry on. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what about the actual, in terms of keeping the schools running through the pandemic? I can imagine there was financial challenges, operational challenges.
Quite a few people actually dropped out, our sponsors, because, they faced a lot of financial challenges because the businesses went down. So we had those challenges. But incredibly how, the universe comes to your aid at that time. We had new donors come in wanting to help and support. And people that had the money wanted to give more, I think, And so even Boeing increased their donations. And a lot of organizations I heard couldn't even pay their salary. But ours was not the case. Every month we paid the salary throughout that pandemic time. So even our staff, I know most of our staff, we have women working with us. 90%, 95% I would say are women. And the husbands had no work. And, the woman's salary was what was supporting the family. And we could also give them food back. So they could have food at home for the children. So it was a lot of learning at that time, I think, during the pandemic. And yeah, we went through that time actually very victoriously. I think when we look at our audited accounts, I think those are the years when we had that maximum funding come in, actually. Yeah. Totally reversed.
Amazing. And I think, we were talking about this a little while earlier. I think as people had time with themselves, which many people in the professional or business setting never get, right? And then you take time to reflect. I think what is important to you starts to come out. And I think that's where a lot of us during the pandemic had time to think about, okay, this is difficult for us, but imagine for people in communities that are disadvantaged, how much more. For us, it's a matter of, can we manage to stay indoors long enough and deal with the boredom and deal with, for them, they're dealing with life and death, right? Are they going to make it through?
It's also personally also impacted my life too, to see, for example, I'm just saying, health became the prime, focus across the globe, I would say. Suddenly people start to realize that health is very important. Even for me, and I'd never probably heard the word immunity. We've heard the word, but, the focus on that word immunity the word was heard every day, hundreds of times. And, every podcast, every, reels, everywhere. So I personally also felt that, I need to check what am I doing, which could hamper my immunity, because it became the buzzword that, got a lot of attention. So I decided also to make some changes in my life, like the importance of, getting exercise and, eating the right food and having sunshine and, fresh air. All this became, priority for me. Actually, personally, it also affected my, personal habits and lifestyle and everything. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then I understand there is one more aspects to the schools and to education that started off, I guess, maybe just post the pandemic or sort of during the pandemic around women empowerment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I used to see, all these women that come to drop their children off at the school, and most of them that had 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, they were in their 20s or early 30s. And most of them were just, daily laborers, or, they would go with their husband to the construction site, carry bricks, carry sand. So that was the job. Or somebody would be a street sweeper, or somebody would be a housekeeping worker in somebody's apartment. So they would make very little money. So suddenly an idea came to me that why don't we teach them some skill that would actually double or quadruple their income? How to do that? Because I was realizing that a lot of children that are passing out of my school, I was not able to sponsor them from grade 1 to 10. That was not possible for me. So I thought if I could somehow increase the income of the parent, then they can support the child themselves. So how do I do that? So in our team's discussions, we thought, why don't we start a computer program, something to teach them to be able to, get some jobs as a data entry operator or something like that. So how do we start this? What do we do? We have never done this. So at that time, I suddenly got a call from a friend of mine called Thomas Savarimuthu. Thomas has been in Germany for, I don't know, last 30 years or something like that. And suddenly I get a call from him and it's like, hey, what are you doing? So he said, I'm in Bangalore. Oh, really? What are you doing in Bangalore? So he said, I've actually set up a computer school. Oh, really? Can I come and see it? So I went to see it and it was so well set up. And you actually don't even need a teacher. It's all online. Everything is, managed from back end and stuff like that. So I said, hey, do you think you can do this for us? So I happened to have just moved my school, the freezer school, to a new location. There's one whole floor. The third floor was empty. And I didn't know what to do with it. I said, okay, this is perfect now. We can set up the computer school there. And lo and behold, we got some funding from Nalini Gangadhar. She said, okay, she's going to give some money. And Trees for Life, they said they will give some money. So they combined that funding and sent it to me. And then we had some funding from Finestra. They gave us some funding. So it all happened so quickly. In 2 months' time, we were able to set up 25 computers. And the women that used to come to our school to drop the kids, they became our students. That was another dream come true. So we have had now the 6th batch just finishing. We have had it for now 3 years. And we set up one more Bloom's. It's called Bloom. The centers are called Bloom. So now we have Bloom Freesia, and now we got Bloom Bluebells. Now we are about to head for Bloom Daisy. So we want, in every school, we want to have a computer set up so that, women can come and learn. We are teaching them the basics. We are teaching them to about 685 classes, I think, on typing. And then we have, Microsoft Office and some, some security training, stuff like that.
Incredible. And what does that enable them to do in terms of jobs? What opportunities does it also
see, the thing is, we are also teaching them English. Most of them have been able to find jobs as a receptionist in some other office, or in supermarkets they've been able to find jobs. So they probably were earning 3,000, 2,000, 3,000 rupees a month for, working as a housemaid or working, carrying bricks and sand and all that. But their income has doubled or tripled because of that. Though we cannot say that we have 100% been able to find jobs for each one of them that gone through the course. But we're working on it because we're tying up with some other NGOs that actually find jobs for these people. So we're trying to collaborate and work together with some other people also.
Amazing.
Yeah. It has made a lot of change in the community. And we've also been able to absorb a lot of these women as our own teachers and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think when, in a community like that, which is so close-knit and so in such physical proximity as well, right, in these slum areas, I think even one or two stories like that can inspire others as well, and just show the group what's possible, and break the cycle of, the cycle they're stuck in, I suppose.
It also inspires our sponsors to see that, we started with one vertical, the kindergarten. Then the next vertical happened, which is the Project Plus 10. Then the next vertical during the pandemic, the online classes started. Then this is the fourth vertical. Now we have the Bloom project for the, women empowerment program. So it inspires others also to see that, we're also growing and we're also, doing more to help the people and stuff like that. It inspires everybody.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's also enlarged our tent. What we started with 2-3 people today, we have got 115 people working in building blocks, and mostly all of them women. So that itself is a women empowerment program, because most of the women that work with us are also coming from, middle class or lower middle class families. So they really depend on the salaries that they receive, and so it's an amazing net. You can say it's a spread ecosystem that, it's beautiful actually.
Amazing. And as of today, maybe not exact numbers, but between all of the schools, how many kids tend to be in the school at any given time, and how many graduates would you say you have now?
Well, the number of students right now, this year, we have got 820 students studying in all these schools. So 820 students have their breakfast and lunch. So we can say almost about 1,500 to 1,600 meals are being prepared every day. So that is one big challenge, the big, benefit for all these students. Then from grade 1 all the way to college, I think the oldest student is in third year BCom. Altogether, we have 541 students at present in that. So 500 plus 800, about 1,300 to 1,400 students are being supported through this project. And we have about 2,000 students that have finished and gone on to, they are not part of our ecosystem. They are going to different schools. But that's the number of students we've impacted so far.
Amazing. And so, to someone who's kind of watching this or listening to this, what are ways that people can get involved and support? I understand the schools, the kindergartens themselves are fully funded. So how can someone get involved and contribute?
So I cannot say that kindergartens are fully funded, because some of the donors that were supporting us after the pandemic, they had to, kind of cut their support. So we are struggling in a couple of schools to be able to, support the teacher's salary and rent and school supplies and stuff like that. So we would encourage people to support a child. A child would, a yearly annual expense would be $580. So that's something we are looking to see if people would want to come forward and help. And also, when children finish with us for 3 years, then they have to go on to, grade 1 and continue to grade 10. So we're requesting everybody to be able to support a child for 10 years. So if you could take a commitment to help a child for 10 years, that will be a great, great help. And also these women that are going to the Bloom students, they also need support. We don't have so much expense, but about $300 per year would be the expense for that. So that is also a need we have. Then we have some dreams about the future, what we want to do. So that's another thing. We have some big dreams. We want to see a total transformation in the education system itself. We feel the child is never asked what they want to study. They have been given a bunch of textbooks and they just have to memorize everything and just go and write the exam and just come out of the school system to find a job. So this has been going on for hundreds of years. I feel each child is a genius. And there are particular subjects that's of interest to a child. He has never been asked, what do you want to study? Like as I was growing up, I wanted to, really get into music. But my parents never encouraged me. So when I had my children, I decided, okay, I want to give them the freedom to do what they want to. So music was something they actually took on, and they really did well in music. So similarly, I think sometimes if a child is not doing well in maths, we just brand him as, oh, he's a dumb fellow, and, he's no good. This is what's happening across the globe, I think. But he may have other talents, which we haven't asked him, what do you want to do? So I want to actually create a school where there is freedom for a child, and where we can teach him things that he wants to learn. And instead of making all these thousands that are coming out as, job seekers, I want to make them job givers. Can they be entrepreneurs that can start their own business? If a particular subject is of interest to them, and they specialize in it, they can step out there and start their own businesses. That's what I believe. And that's something I want to do. So we are looking for support and help from people that would like to contribute to something big. It's going to be a big project. So yeah, this is a dream I had.
So I got one more question for you. And this is maybe more personal than it is about your project. What is happiness to you?
Well, happiness to me would be to live in a world of giving and giving and giving. And where I can also teach the younger generation to also do the same, to reach out to their neighbors, their friends, their communities, the country, and, give them the foundations of, what giving can do to people and how it can bring amazing joy. Because I've experienced that in my life, and I want to impart that to the next generation. I think if you can create a new world where people think about other people, and I think that would be my dream, and that would be my happiness.
Amazing. Well, such a pleasure going through that whole journey with you, and thank you for sharing all that. I just want to mention that anyone who's listening can go to, I think it's buildingblocksindia.org if they want to learn more about the project. And thanks so much, James, for sharing all of that story and your vision, and just we're so inspired by everything you do.
Thank you. Really appreciate this.